Alright everyone, today we are going to do some work on this guy, our RC speed tank. And if you've been following along, we've had some problems with these, which are 27-turn brushed motors. Originally we threw them in there just because we had them lying around, and the designer of this vehicle actually made some mounts for them, so it was really easy to do. But what we've been finding is that they've been getting just way too hot. 215, that's way too hot. 222, 223. So today we've actually received some of the recommended motors, which are these right here. These are the Sunny Sky 2212 brushless motors. Normally these are used for quadcopters, but apparently they work great in the speed tank. My first impression is that they seem like just way too small to actually move these tracks, but we'll get them installed and we'll see what happens. We've also received some of these smaller speed controllers that apparently work well with them, so we'll get those installed as well. Now in order to get these installed, we actually had to 3D print some new mounts. So we're going to go ahead and we'll tear it apart and we'll get all this installed, and we'll come back in a minute and show you what it looks like. Okay, before we get too much further here, I wanted to make a quick note. So this is what I had in there. That's the 27T540 motor. You can see it uses a metal pinion and it just clips in right here and connects into the gearing on this guy, and that's what drives it. So it's really simple. This one, however, is a little bit more complicated, and I realized that I didn't actually buy the Sunny Sky 22121 motors. These are called Ready to Sky, which I guess is slightly different, and it didn't have the same shaft on it that the Sunny Sky ones did. So unfortunately I had to make my own pinion here. So I got a pinion, and I've put 2 set screws in it there, so hopefully it holds, and I think it's going to be okay. So obviously the pinion coming off this motor turns this gear, which turns this guy, and then that's going to slide through here and connect into this gear there. Hopefully that works out, and hopefully these motors turn out good enough to drive this RC tank. Alright, as you can see here, we got it all wired up. We got motor on the right, motor on the left, 2 speed controllers. This is our speed controller holder, and it's going to go right back on these bolts here. And then we have our receiver here. I'm not exactly certain where the receiver is going to sit yet, so I'm going to not tie it down until we get it all in there. But next step, put it all in and we'll see how she fits. Okay, so just a quick update on where we're at. We had these both fully installed. It was a bit of a pain to get them installed. In order to do that, you had to take off these brackets here for the cover that go on the outside because they just do not fit in. So that was a bit of a pain for sure. And then once I got them in, I couldn't get them working properly. So I've been playing around for the last hour or two trying to figure it out. And I think it's these speed controllers. I can't seem to get those speed controllers to work properly on any of the channels on my dual stick remote here. Not really being sure what it is. I just hooked one of the motors up to one of these standard 16BL30, and I was able to get these motors to work totally fine. So I don't know if there's some programming or something that needs to be done with these, or if they're just meant for one specific application and this isn't it. So yeah, I'm not entirely certain what I want to do. I could just grab another one of these and throw it in there to get her done. Okay, time for some real talk here. So we've been doing a bit of research to try and figure out what's going on here, and apparently these ESCs that are meant for air are different than these land-based ESCs. So the air ESCs, they don't see this here as neutral. They see this as neutral, this is 50% power, and that is 100% power. So they also do not have any reverse. You can reverse the direction of the motor by switching any 2 of these wires, but there is no reverse function. And I guess when you think about that, there would be no need for that on an RC plane. So you can add a dongle to these called a PiStix, P-I-S-T-I-X, that will change these to make them work like a regular land-based speed controller. But that's going to be an extra 20 bucks or so per speed controller, so you might as well just go for a nicer one like this. The other thing is that when you watch the designer's build guide, he doesn't use any of those PiStix controllers. He just hooks his speed controller right to his receiver. So now in terms of getting that working on the remote, this stick here doesn't spring back to the middle. It doesn't have springs in it. However, this direction here, and this direction here, all the other directions on this controller are going to return to middle. So I can have one channel working perfectly, although again, no reverse, but all the other channels are going to spring back. So if I wanted, I could have it stopped like this, and I can drive both right and left with these joysticks, but in order to have it stop, I'm going to have to pull back, and if I release this one, it's going to start moving the right-hand controller again. So now I guess the next thing I need to do is see if we can modify these controllers here to remove the springs so that we can have this work for the speed tank. Alright, so here's the back of our controller opened up. So as you can see, this is the left side of the controller here, and there is no spring in this area right here, whereas there is a spring right there. That's the spring that's going to recenter your stick every time. So all we have to do in order to make it work like this one is remove that spring. And then we also can put a piece of metal or plastic between here and there to put a little bit of tension on this so that the stick stays in the location that we want it whenever we move it. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And as you're doing it, it's also a good idea to take out this little half moon piece that is stuck under here, and that's what actually attaches to the spring on this end. So it's just not flopping around in there, but it normally sticks in here. But if you undo these two screws, you can kind of pop it out with a pair of needle nose pliers. As you can see at the moment, now that I've removed that spring, it's super floppy and won't stay in its location. So we do need to add some sort of a tensioner like this guy here. Now I'm just going to make one out of plastic and screw it in there. And that should hopefully hold this in the location we put it. So I just found this little piece of plastic from a milk carton. So we're going to cut it to size now and we'll screw it in place. Alright, there we go. There's the finished product. This is what it looks like here. You can see it's just adding just a little bit of tension. If I turn it around, it is staying in whatever location I put it at. Still bounces back left to right, just like this other one here does. But yeah, they both have some tension on them. This is channel 3 here, and I believe this is channel 2. So we will hook our speed controllers up to their respective places, and we should be able to have it off with them both down, full throttle both up, and then a little bit more right than left will make it turn to the left, and a little bit more left than right will make it turn to the right. So now we can get back to reinstalling our motors. Alright, there we go. We finally got it working. We got the receiver on, we have the ESCs powered up, and both throttle sticks are down here. So now if I slightly move this one, it's going, and if I slightly move this one, it's going as well. I'm going to go ahead now and reinstall the motors and make sure that everything's working the right way around, and we'll get her going. Oh my god, it's working. I almost don't believe it. Let's get it out on the road before something else happens. Alright, so as you can see, we have successfully installed something close to the recommended motors in our RC tank. Hopefully we don't have any more issues with overheating, but I did bring out a temperature gauge just in case. Unfortunately, with the new ESCs we have in there, we no longer have reverse, but having the option to go in reverse is probably actually contributing a lot to the heat buildup, so that might actually be a blessing in disguise. So let's turn it on and give it a run. So these motors definitely don't seem to have the power that the other ones did. So it's a lot slower for sure. All right, let's see what happens if we just crank it. So once it gets moving, it seems to do okay. That's full throttle. not running too bad. Has a little bit of trouble getting started off the bat, but once it's going, it's okay. The motors are pretty hot. Let's go check their temperature. 180-ish. So that's not too bad as compared when the other ones we were getting were well over 150, even over 200. So we're 110-ish on this one right now. So yeah, not too bad at all. Around 90 on this one now. So I think we can safely say that these motors are a win. They're still not my favorite though in terms of power. I do prefer those 540s I had in there before in terms of how much power they have to start that track off when it's on some rough terrain. But these are definitely serviceable. I think in the future I might try and go ahead and throw some other 540 motors on here. The higher number of turns. I had used 27. I have some 35s, but I think I might need higher than that. Just to get the temperature down a bit. It'll be a little bit slower, but it should have tons of crawling power. So I think that would be the ideal if you were looking for motors for one of these guys yourself. Anyways, that's all we got time for here today. I hope you had fun watching, and remember, as always, if you're looking for cool ideas of 3D printed RC projects to build, kits, parts, or instructions on how to build them, check us out, rcprinter.com.